that be Luscious. That's why you have no friends. Your dad can't beat my dad, and your dad can't beat me. How's your pop gonna swing with Dookie on his hand? Your dad scoops poop. Well, your dad's a scam artist. Hawke'S, Tawk, and Squawk. Luscious versus Nadroj. Nadroj versus Luscious. Shall we begin? One of the greatest rivalries of Hawke's wingspan. A lot of you been waiting on this. I haven't been ignoring you, but I've just been working on other stuff. But I just wrapped up the video about linking with the homie Luscious the other day, and I figure since I have a little time on my hands, let me knock this one out now. Now, this is not going to be a 90-minute video like I stated in the previous video, but it's going to be worth the price of admission. I tell you that. But anyway, Nadroj versus Luscious. Now, me and Nadroj came up in the West Park congregation. You know what I mean? I've known that cat since, you know what I mean, as long as I can remember. Now, me and Nadroj, we didn't always get along for, like, I flat out didn't like him. Me and Nadroj really didn't start getting cool till our teenage years. I was about 16. He had just turned 15. But we were both close with Sheaf. You know what I mean? He considers Sheaf his best friend, while Sheaf is me and Sheaf are cousins. So prior to me and Nadroj actually becoming friends, we only really associated with one another through Cuzzo. You know what I mean? We usually just tolerated each other, but we never hung out or talked on the phone or anything outside of that. But one day in early 2000, that changed when Nadroj called me up on the phone. You know, his pop being a PO had everybody's house numbers, so in the congregation. So he hits me up, we talked or whatever. Then a couple of days later, we met down at 69th Street. Because 69th Street, during that time, that was like one of the prime hangout spots. It was either 69th Street, 52nd Street District, the Gallery, or sometimes we even went up to the mall. But that was around the time we started hanging out. Now, in that same year, the year 2000 was when I first met Luscious. You know, I also met Luscious through Sheaf, you know what I mean, playing ball or whatever. Now, once me and Luscious got cool, he started hanging out in Winfield more and started coming to West Park once the, like, Winfield relocated to 61st and Haverford. Now, Nadroj was always Nadroj. I'm going to just put it out there. He had female tendencies. Like, seriously. Like, real emotional dude. You know what I mean? Shout out to my Pisces. But, you know what I mean? Pisces are known for being real emotionally sensitive. That was Nadroj. But Nadroj also had female tendencies. Like, I know, like, he was real possessive of, like, he ain't want Sheaf to have any other friends. And that was the reason why, for the most part, Nadroj didn't really like me or whatever in the beginning, because he seen how close me and Sheaf was, even though we're cousins. And that was the one thing he could never be with Sheaf was blood. He could say, yeah, that's my best friend, but he envied our family status. And I would notice, you know what I mean, little stuff like that, how he was. And while he had no choice but to deal with it, he was real weird acting to any of the guys that Sheaf befriended. Now, Nadroj and Cesar were friends first. Then when Sheaf started going to ENS, him and Cesar became real close. And Cesar and Nadroj kind of drifted apart. They were still friends, but they weren't as tight as they were in the beginning. And it was actually Nadroj that introduced Sheaf and Caesar. Now Luscious comes into the picture. Now Luscious starts hanging out with us. Nadroj just automatically saw Luscious as a rival. You know what I mean? Not so much because me and Luscious was close. I mean, that played a part of it too, because Nadroj figures he has a new friend in me. Now here comes Luscious, but it's mainly the fact that Luscious is She's homie as well. So Nadroj is like, oh no, you're trying to come in here and take away both of my homies, but that wasn't the point. We brought Luscious into the squad, into the Winfield Hawks. That was the name of my little crew. You know what I mean? And Nadroj was part of it, even though he didn't live in Winfield. It's just that he associated with Winfield cats. But anyway, Nadroj is automatically didn't like Luscious, so he would always bust on him. You know what I mean? Clown the cats from the Winfield congregation. And because I remember the first time we all hung out, it was actually at the 2000 district convention. And you could tell Nadroj was feeling some kind of way because Luscious was like kind of hanging out with us or whatever. And this was around the time, really, when me and Luscious squashed, and I said I was going to get to this part in this video. Because when me and Luscious first met was on a basketball court. But not too long after me and Luscious met, me and his homie Jeff had beef. Now, like I stated previously, Jeff is from 52nd and Diamond. And we all came up, they got a playing ball over there at St. Barber's and on the corner at George's Lane. So we would always be out there. So I heard that Jeff was feeling some kind of way because I was talking to one of the sisters from the Winfield congregation. She was an older sister. She was I was like 16. She was like 19. And all the younger brothers in the Winfield congregation had a thing for her, but she didn't give none of them no place. She was like, they corny. Now she was the kind of J-Dub. She wasn't baptized. She was just studying. But she went to all the meetings, and she was even on the theocratic ministry school. But, you know what I mean, she would smoke, she cussed, you know what I mean. Me and her smashed a couple times, got it in. But one day, because she lived in Winfield too. She lived down there. She lived in down on Bryn Mawr Avenue in the apartment buildings. She lived in the same apartments that my cousin Bobby and Johnny lived in. And it's like I kind of met her through them because my cousins at the time, they were going to Winfield congregation, but they didn't really interact with none of the other friends there. Then they eventually drifted off and stopped going to the hall anyway. But anyway, Jeff was hating because one day he didn't go to Brook. He went to Parkway. He's on the corner of 54th and Lebanon waiting on the 52 bus. And he sees me and the shorty from his hall ride by. You know what I mean? Because I used to drop her off to catch the G bus right across the street from Brook. You know what I mean? Then I would park and, you know what I mean, hang outside the school for a minute, then finally go inside the building. She worked down South Philly, and she went to school, so she was working and going to school, but I would drop her off right there at the G, and she would catch the bus to South Philly. But anyway, Jeff seen us. Then he goes to my homie Mac. Mac went to Overbrook congregation. But him and Jeff was cool. They knew each other, you know what I mean, through seeing each other at the assemblies or whatever. And at school, they got real close. They both went to Parkway. He starts talking shit, hating on me to Mac. Mac goes and tells Sheaf. Then Sheaf tells me, he was like, yeah, the boy Jeff was saying this and that. So I approached Jeff, and he act like, oh, he ain't say nothing, whatever. Then he goes and asks Sheaf personally, yo, is your cousin retarded or something? Like, he just came up and started asking me all these weird questions or whatever. Then Sheaf also tells me that Luscious was co-signing, like, yeah, your boy was acting kind of weird, like on a basketball court. That's why I had to take it to him. He's a bum, and tell him if you want to play me in one-on-one anytime, then it is what it is. Luscious thought he was the shit because that one time we played ball, he scored like 3 straight baskets on me. I'm like, he was a good basketball player. I never denied that. But he wasn't better than me. So I'm like, all right, Luscious, you talking shit. The next time we played ball, I destroyed him. Him and Jeff. It was me and Sheaf versus him and Jeff. And I told Jeff right there on the court, keep my name out your motherfucking mouth. You know what I mean? You asking my cousin right here if I'm retarded. If you got a problem, you know what I mean? Say it to me. He froze up and ain't had nothing to say. So a couple weeks later, we get into it again down there on George's Lane. You know what I mean? I'm calling him out like, you's a bitch ass man. I'll fuck you up. He ain't want no smoke. Then he ran in the house. But then eventually after that, because he went to Sheaf after that. Matter of fact, he went to Luscious, and Luscious went to Sheaf, was like, yo, Jeff don't want no problems with your cousin. Blah, blah, blah. So it was cool after that. And I kind of veered off the topic real quick, back to Luscious and Nadroj. But yeah, Nadroj was always like kind of jealous, so he would always start attacking Luscious, like hating on him and busting on him or whatever. And this would go on, like they would eventually get cool with one another to the point where they would actually call each other, and sometimes they would hang out or whatever. But mainly when they was together, it was always usually through me or Sheaf. So I would say we was all friends together. I would say from 2000 through 2003. Luscious started coming around more and more from 2000 going into 2001 to the point where we would always, Luscious' house became a hangout because he had the finished basement in the garage. So we would always hang down there. You know what I mean? We would sneak girls in. You know what I mean? Do shit that young boys was doing. Just not with each other. Not on no Diddy shit. No Diddy. Well, yeah. But Nadroj would always take digs at Luscious. Now, Luscious and his pop had their own little cleaning company on the side where they would like clean office buildings and residential places and shit like that. Nadroj would always clown Luscious and say, because you know cleaning buildings consist of cleaning bathrooms and cleaning toilets. So Nadroj would be like, your pop scoop's pulled. He's a janitor. Now, you know, James Hearns, Nadroj's pop, was known as being a scam artist. So Luscious his rebuttal would be, well, your dad's a fake entrepreneur. They would go back and forth all day, busting on each other's pops. Luscious would be like, my dad would trash you. He was like, my dad would trash your dad. Nadroj would be like, how'd your pop want to swing with Dookie on his hands? He was like, your dad can't beat my dad and you can't beat me. Yo, I'm telling you, these cats would be roasting each other back and forth for an hour. Meanwhile, me and Sheaf will be instigating. We would be instigating with our laughs and saying shit like, oh, damn, you let them come at your moms like that? Because Nadroj would be, no, Luscious would be like, Nadroj, why your mom always have her hair hanging down and she's slow? And then Nadroj would never really have a response for Luscious' mom, but he would always bust on his sister. Because Luscious' sister, she couldn't stand Nadroj because she claims allegedly that one night when we was all staying over at Luscious' crib, we all in the basement, garage, whatever, his sister stayed the night. She was sleeping on the couch. She claims that in the middle of the night, Nadroj was at the edge of the couch and was touching her feet, and it was dark, but she felt it, and when she looked up and said, what are you doing? She said he ran off giggling toward the basement. So I don't really know if that's true or not. It wouldn't surprise me because Nadroj was a feet creep. And I don't put it past him trying to do some shit like that. So I don't really know. But Nadroj would always bust on his sister because his sister was thick, like thick and built. He was like, that be your fat behind sister. She's a slut. Where's her baby daddy? He was like, well, at least I know my sister. Doesn't your sister look like Mr. Potato Head like your dad? Man, these cats would go back and forth, busting on each other for hours, and me and Sheaf will be just instigating and laughing. I just smoked a blunt, so I'm high. I'm, instigating. And it was a couple times it got physical. Now, this time we was at my crib. We're all in a room because my room, the way my room was set up, couldn't no dudes sit on my bed when they came over. My bed was off limits. Now, in my room, I had a little couch. I had a recliner because there was never really no more than 4 or 5 of us in a room. But nobody was sitting on my bed. If it wasn't nowhere to sit your ass on the floor or go downstairs and get a folding chair. But my bed, I'd be laid across the bed, smoking a blunt, because the way my room was set up, I would always put something at the door, and there was a big tree right outside my window, and I kept the fan on the instant so nobody would know I'd be in there smoking. I had 2 TVs in my room. I had one for watching TV, then one where all the game systems was hooked up to. Then I had a stereo system. You know what I mean? My room was the spot whenever we wasn't over Luscious' crib. But this is the one rare time where at my crib, Nadroj and Luscious, they get into it. Luscious hems Nadroj up. Sheaf didn't want no parts of it. He was like, look, I ain't breaking up no fight, and I'm not witnessing nothing. I'm out. I wasn't going to let them tear up my room, so I'm like, listen, if y'all want to fight, there's plenty of room across the street at St. Barbara's in the parking lot. Y'all can scrap over there. You know what I mean? Of course, they wasn't really about that. You know what I mean? Not with each other. But yeah, it was a couple times where then it came the blows with them. When Luscious started talking to his soon-to-be first wife, Nadroj tried to intervene and try to get her for himself. Now, as I stated in the previous video, we all had a code where if one of us had a girl's number, couldn't nobody else get it. Nadroj was always the one that tried to violate that code. And he was trying to get me in on it. He was like, yeah, I'm going holla at her, you know what I mean? Because you're already talking to her cousin, so just hit her cousin up and don't tell Luscious. And I scoop, and I'm like, nah, I ain't going to do Luscious like that because he never did no grimy shit when it came to no broad. Like, not to me. Luscious didn't do grimy shit when it came to broads. He always stayed on code, which was the reason why I always fucked with him. But Nadroj was just trying to go against that code, and I'm like, nah. He was like, but we West Park, he Winfield. I'm like, yeah, he's Winfield, but guess what? I'm Winfield too. So you can claim that West Park congregation all you want, but me and Luscious, we're Winfield at the end of the day. Because even outside of the J-Dub, we had mutual friends. I said the homie Dolph, all my homies from the Valley, because that's where Luscious was from. Luscious was from the Valley. You know what I mean? And I had homies from the Valley. So that's kind of where the falling out started. Because Nadroj really wanted the girl that Luscious had. So he started doing nut ass shit like calling Luscious' parents like, yeah, he's taking your Jeep. He's picking this girl up and they're going off unsupervised and unchaperoned. And of course, Luscious going to feel some kind of way when he finds that out. So at this point, Luscious kind of started falling back a little bit because of Nadroj. Because I told Luscious, I said, I'll fuck with both of y'all. You know what I mean? Y'all needed to work this shit out. I'm not getting in the middle of it. So Luscious kind of, Sheaf was on the same time, so Luscious kind of fell back. Like, y'all still my homies, but I really can't deal with Nadroj like that. And I'm like, all right, I feel you. We'll still hang out, play ball, whatever. So it was one Saturday, and this was around the time where the young boys started hanging with us more. You know what I mean? Sean, Mike, and little cousin Scrappy D. Now, it's the time we're all at the crib, the six of us. You know what I mean? We're all in a room. Matter of fact, yeah, it was the six of us. And Luscious hits me up on the phone. He was like, yo, I'm outside. You know what I mean? So I go downstairs. I come outside. Luscious is outside with Jeff, Kyle Mitchell, and some young boy named RJ. He had just started going to, he didn't go to Winfield, but somehow him and Luscious became cool. He wasn't baptized. He was just studying or something. Then I was cool with all of them. So I didn't feel no kind of way that they all popped up to the crib, because I knew they ain't want no smoke. And I know they ain't want no smoke. But they was coming to confront Nadroj, and Luscious had his homies with him because he knew that Sean and Mike was with us, and he knew that Nadroj was putting this stuff in their heads about Luscious. And anyway, Luscious was hanging out with them that night. So he like, yo, told Nadroj to come here, whatever. I want to talk to him like a man. So I'm like, all right, this is what y'all do. Y'all go over to the schoolyard, and I'ma just tell them we gonna go chill at the schoolyard for a minute. So I go back upstairs, and I'm like, y'all, we gonna go over to the schoolyard, you know what I mean? Then after that, we'll roll out and go bowling or something, because it's Saturday night. It's the fall, so it's already dark, but it's only like 6 o'clock, 6:30, something like that. So we all go over across the street, and Luscious confronts Nadroj's like, man, that was some punk stuff you did, telling my parents this, that, and the third. And they start arguing, and Nadroj is real loud, like he's the loudest person out there, like a female, right? He's so loud. My mom was on the porch doing her little computer stuff or whatever, and the window was open, and right from the porch you could see clear across the street, and you could hear a confrontation. So my mom comes out, and was like, what's going on, whatever. And everybody was all loud, and meanwhile, Sean and Luscious get into it, and Luscious Sean and Luscious gets into it. I guess Sean calls himself defending Nadroj. So Luscious grips Sean up and like, get off. Sean's like, get off me. They're about to get into it. You know what I mean? RJ tries to step in. I put my hand out like, chill. You know what I mean? Then next thing you know, RJ gets in this feeling, starts talking about, man, y'all West Park dudes, I knew y'all was some maggots. He didn't say maggot, replaced the M with an F. That's really what he called us. I turned around and punched him dead in his mouth. Then Jeff starts talking tough, talking about any one of y'all West Park dudes put y'all hands on me. I went up to Jeff and I'm like, Jeff, you already know what time it is. You know what I mean? I'll smack the shit out you. You know what I mean? You ain't got Nick and them here to defend you. So he like, man, whatever, what's up? I'm right here. I ain't going nowhere. I get up in his mug, but by that time, my mom, she done ran across the street to the light and broke it up and threatened to call everybody's parents. And at that point, Luscious just kind of, we were still tight after that, but we never really hung out much after that. You know what I mean? We would play ball here and there. At that point, Luscious started gravitating more towards the homies in his congregation and some other J-Dub friends that he got cool with. We would still hang out here and there. We would link up at parties or whatever, but it wasn't the same. And when I seen Luscious yesterday, we talked about all that. I'm like, man, I think back now, 21 years later, I'm like, I wish I would have handled that different at the time. Because at that time, I'm 20 years old at that time, and I'm like, they were both my homies, and I didn't want to get in the middle. But the more and more I think about it, man, that was all Nadroj doing. You know what I mean? Because Luscious came into the crew, and he just wanted to be cool, but Nadroj, you know what I mean, he kind of divided us with his antics. You know what I mean? I'm like, it is what it is. You can't change the past, but that was the Nadroj and Luscious saga. You know what I mean? They eventually squashed it after that, but like I said, it would never go back to being the same. Luscious would go on and get married. You know what I mean? Then a couple years later, Sheaf and Nadroj, they both moved up to Pittsburgh or whatever. And a couple years after that, I left the J-Dubs, and that's basically it. But Luscious and Nadroj, man, they would go at it for days. But we all had our good times together, you know what I mean? Playing ball, going to parties. You know what I mean? Just chilling out at the park, hanging out in Luscious' basement. You know what I mean? At my crib. Hanging out over there in the schoolyard. You know what I mean? Going down to the gallery. But the thing is, too, Nadroj would always be like, Luscious, you're ugly as Pope. And Luscious would be like, I know E.T. isn't talking. We used to call Nadroj E.T. after he went from being fat to losing like 150 pounds in one summer. Everybody started calling him malnourished and anorexic and E.T. Eventually, he kind of molded into a proper weight. But at first, it was like, damn, what happened to you? But for real, I just think it was hormonal changes. You see that a lot. A kid might go from being fat to losing weight. Like it happened to my guy cousin. Like when we were kids, he was fat as shit. Then one day we're all teenagers and this dude just lost all his weight. Like transformation, it happens. And it doesn't have to be because you were doing drugs or you were malnourished. It just happens. But you know, simple-minded Jehovah's Witnesses, instead of congratulating him on losing his weight, they assumed that he was sick or doing something unhealthy and unnatural. But that's cult-minded folks for you. Nadroj versus Luscious. Nadroj versus Luscious. And Luscious versus Nadroj. Yeah! But anyway, like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for more Hawks Talk and Squawk. Hawk out.